Welcome back to another episode of Meredyth with a Y. I am your host, Meredyth Willits, and today we are embarking on a completely new series that we're going to be trying out with my husband, Jim, and myself, talking about marriage and all things involved in that. So stay with us. Hello, everyone. This is Meredyth with a Y, and I am your host, Meredyth Willits. Today we are going to go deep, changing lives, and I am giving you the keys to the castle. So, Jim, thanks so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Did I have a choice?
Yes, you had a choice.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to be here.
He's a little traumatized that this is live going out on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, and he wanted to record it.
Switch. I was told it was going to be recorded, edited.
It is recorded.
Recorded, edited, all the dumb stuff that I say taken out, and then posted. And then she told me it's live.
It's going to be live because you know what? I think that's better though. I mean, this is one example of just because you do one thing really, really well. Like my husband is literally the greatest sales and marketer of all time. And he's been on many podcasts. However, not this podcast, not talking about these subjects. So he is a little bit nervous and that's okay. Like it is what it is. And we're talking about, I don't know if it's personal things, but I thought that, how many years have we been married? Do you know? Is it like 17? You always say it's like 20, but it's not.
35.
When's our anniversary?
June 23rd. Wow, it's going to get south really fast.
I was just in the bathroom.
Is that coming up? No, it's good.
Yeah, you missed it. I was just in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to ask him when our anniversary is. And that'll get the ball rolling.
There was no pre-interview prep either, by the way.
Let me just tell you.
This is rapid fire.
Yeah, we were sitting outside and he's like, so we're not going to prep at all. And I'm like, well, I think we should have some boundaries of what's kind of off limits. But at the same time, I think that, prepping too much, you've been on podcasts where there's a lot of prepping and questions and no one's really listening. It's kind of boring. But so we were married in 2007 and I was a single mom of 2 kids. You know their names?
Cody and Skylar.
And they were, so when Cody and Skylar were 9 and 7 when we got married. And when you met them, they were like 7 and 5-ish.
Are you trying to get me to cry?
For the record, that's not complicated, as our children will tell you.
Not crying.
And so what was it like, I guess, being a single guy, never been married, from Iowa, came from kind of a traditional background, getting your life together, and then meeting a mom of 2 kids? What was that like?
In all respect, all single moms out there, but I never really crossed my brain that would be something I was going to be.
Mistakes were made.
You're going to marry someone that's been divorced and 2 kids and instant family and poof. It didn't. I couldn't comprehend it really. But when it happened, it didn't turn into a thing. It turned into more of a thing when I talked to people because other people
had their ideas.
They had their ideas of what they thought it was going to be. So I really wasn't like, oh, I got to make this way. I was just kind of let our relationship.
You were just so in love. You just saw through everything. You had no idea what you're getting yourself into, basically.
I mean, there were a couple times when I showed up at the house and Cody and Skylar were,
being kids,
being children. And I was like, wow. But again, there was no preconceived notion like, hey, this is how this is going to go. It just kind of happened. And, here we are.
Yeah.
17,000 years later.
Well, I will say one thing that was very different too for us is basically the day after we got married, we moved, or you were already living in Philly. Right. So we met in Cleveland, for those of you that don't know us. We met in Cleveland and dated. And then you got a job in Philly. And then we did kind of the long distance thing for a solid year. And shout out to
Two, wasn't it? Was it 2 years?
Well, 2 years from when you moved to the day we got married.
Okay, yeah.
Shout out to Rich's, my ex's parents, for being so awesome. They always watch Cody and Skylar when I would come visit, unless I was bringing them.
Yeah.
But we did the long distance thing for a year before you proposed, which that's a story.
Let's not get into that. That's for another day.
And then, you know, we dated and prepared for the wedding and all that stuff for about a year before we got married. And then, like I said, the day that, like that weekend we got married, I moved to Philly and the kids stayed with Rich and did that whole summer and so on and so forth. And then, I mean, basically we had a whole new family in Philly while you worked for the Flyers. And so that was like really wild. And doing long distance and being a new, like you were dad, like, you know, you were dad 7 days a week outside of visitations. And also on top of that, navigating a new marriage, you know, like, which being married to me is so simple. So not only were you navigating a new wife, I was navigating a new husband in a new city, in a new town, in a new house, and shared parenting and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot, but at the same time, there's a part of me that feels like it was easier because it wasn't every single week they're going to their dads and we have to regroup and we have to redo everything every Tuesday and every other weekend. We were kind of allowed to immerse in being a new family, I think. So I feel like that was easier, at least I think from the kids' perspective. I don't know. I'm sure it was difficult in some ways and easier in other ways.
Well, I think that something we're not factored in, we're not here to kiss his butt, but I think Rich, Meredith's ex, was very easy. You know, I think a lot of dads and moms that are in the situation probably makes life difficult for the incoming step parent per se, or parent. I don't like to say step parent, but I think Rich, you know, he was always outstanding, always a good, you know, good guy in those.
Well, I think it's because you were a good guy, because there were a lot of guys that dated before you that he was not.
Well, was good
he
to me.
Probably saw you and was like, "Thank the Lord in heaven, there's Jim." Yeah. I think my whole family was like, "Thank God Jim exists."
Yeah, because but I think that helped. I mean, that was another external factor.
That
like
was huge.
Being married and having the kids, and then if you have this outside force that's being combative as the parent, the other parent, and that was also a component and piece of the puzzle. I don't ever remember back. I mean, we were just the other day. Skylar was here, and we found some old little video cameras.
Gosh.
And
what are those things called?
I don't know. They were the little white cameras that were like that big,
like video cameras.
And we started like pulling up all those old videos, Cody and Skylar and Emerson, and we were like, "Where's Brock? He wasn't even in existence yet." And I think I look back to that and I'm like, they're never, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like we just kind of
just
pooped,
did it.
And it was never a component like, oh my gosh, this is so much. It was just living our lives.
There were definitely days that it was so much.
Yeah, maybe, but But
I think that's a testament to you. Like, I think that when you decided that you were going to get married, you've never been like a toe out sort of person. Like it was never like, well, I can just get out of this. Like you were all in. I feel like you were all in from the day we got engaged. Like there was no, I'm sort of going to be a dad. I'm sort of going to be a husband. I'm sort of going to be a new partner to Meredyth and her extended family and her ex-husband. Like I never felt like you were going to like leave.
Yeah.
And I think the kids felt that too.
Yeah. Well, that's a tribute to you too, though. You made it easy for me too. When it was all said and finished and we said I do, and you were a big part of it too. So it was I was fortunate to be good on both sides. You, the kids, Rich, Allison, just later in life. But yeah, I think that was because of you guys.
And I always talk about to my clients, I look back at the first like 3 years of our marriage, and I tell my clients this all the time. I tell people this all the time. Like, you were like, I was just very defensive person. Like, I always felt like everyone was against me. Like in life, I felt like I had to always defend myself. I felt like people were always attacking me. Like, that was a character flaw from my end. And I talk about this with people a lot. You were always like, I'm not against you. My mom's not against you. My sisters aren't against you. Like, because I was always afraid that there was somebody attacking me. And I think that that really changed my brain chemistry. I think it changed really me and the way that I was wired for like my whole life, that I was going to be allowed to relax and take a breath, and that you weren't running away. You weren't trying to get out. You weren't looking for an exit. Because I mean, you did wait a long time to get married. You didn't like take marriage lightly. So I think that when you decided that you were going to get married, you were getting married for life, and you were going to make sure that I felt comfortable in life and that the kids felt comfortable in life, to the point where during our wedding, you said vows to Cody and Skylar. Like, Cody and Skylar walked me down the aisle, which I thought was personally important, because we were a unit. Cody, Skylar, and I were a unit, and they were like, it was us walking towards you literally during ceremony and in life. And when you said vows to them, like, they still talk about it. They still talk about that you.
She's trying to make me cry. Doing her best. I got it.
But it's true. Like,
no, I mean, but I did it because that's what I wanted to do. And that's how I felt about them and you. And, Brock and Emerson are obviously a giant part of our life, just like Cody and Skylar are. And, but they weren't anywhere even around or even a thought,
right.
And Cody and Skylar were it. So, and I was, marrying all three of you.
Yeah.
At that moment. So
I think that's huge too. Like, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, like, if you're out there and you're thinking about getting married and you have children from a previous relationship or a previous situation, and you're marrying someone from either end, like, I just think that there's like this energetic moment of saying, or committing to not only the adult, but like committing to be there for these kids, so they have that in their awareness. Like, the photos we have from that, like, Cody is just beside himself, and it's just really, really beautiful. And you gave him necklaces, and it was just, I think that it was just an energetic bonding commitment moment from you that they really absorbed. Because, like, to this day, I think Cody calls you more than he calls me, first of all.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you. And like, you and Skylar are in a business together. You guys have been working at a business now for like over a year. And you each have your own relationship that really has nothing to do with me. And I think that's a testament to, the annoying things of being a dad, like teaching Cody how to shovel the driveway, or, like, just being a adult guide in their life. And I think that you've never shied away from, I don't know if it's being their dad, but of being their dad, like, and taking that role really, really seriously. And, myself, and we don't really talk about these things very much, but for myself, when people talk about, oh, I thought I loved this person until I saw them be a dad, and I think that when you don't, and I talk about this a lot, step parents don't have to love a child. They just don't. They can be a part of the family. They can say, hey, those are your kids, you parent them, I want to stay out of it, this, that, and the other. So a step parent, can come in many different roles, but the thing of it is you really dove headfirst into being a part of their life wholeheartedly, down to, I didn't have money coming into this relationship. I was a secretary at a law firm, and, you financially, from school to school clothes outside of their dad, you financially took care of them on our end as far as a provider 100% because I was a stay-at-home mom all those years. And then when they went away to college, when it came to our portion of their college, you paid that out of your money, which I had no money. So, I mean, I look at our money as a unit, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like, hey, if we're sending Cody and Skylar to college, you better go get a job and pay to make sure that they can go to college. It was a non-issue that, to me, it goes back to those vows.
Right. Yeah, I think that it never, and I know you know this, but it never was about our money, your money.
Right.
It was just like, it was our family money. But I really had never really thought about it till you brought it up. But like, I also think maybe the reason I just kind of dove it was like went for it is because I'd made a couple different career transitions and making those, you know, in the sports industry, you know, from El Paso Buzzards to the Phoenix Coyotes, and then Phoenix Coyotes to the Cleveland Indians. Like I kind of went, I just, you have to go, you have to get there and go and prove your worth and your in sales and marketing. And it's got to be a go. So maybe that was kind of my approach with that, because it was my experience is just go, like just grab the bull by the horns and go. And I think that again, I haven't really thought about it till now. I'm wondering, you know, there's no process in my thought where I'm like thinking back, like, oh man, I didn't think I was going to make it. I never really like looking back. So I wonder if maybe there was a few career switches from city to city and team to team, organization to organization, helped me be a better stepdad. Maybe I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if that's true or not, but possibility.
No, I can see that. But I mean, like, when I'm looking at like our entire relationship, like you just always kind of, even to date, and we'll talk about my many hairstyles.
That's a week long.
That's a whole week long podcast series. But I mean, I just think that you've always just been my rock. I think you've been Cody and Skylar's rock 100%. You're Brock and Emerson's. And I talk to my clients about this as well. Like, your weight in our life, your anchor personality allows so many of us to soar. Like, I really do feel that way. Like, you're just always very, thank God. I'm praying we never have the moment when he becomes the Meredyth, because I don't want that. But your stability, like, you've always just been like, okay, like, this is what we're doing this week. But at the same time, I think that I've been that way for you with your career, like sounding board and like, okay, we're moving to Chicago. Okay, we're moving to Florida. Like, there's times when you step in and you're the rock in my chaos, and I'm the rock in your chaos, and it just works.
There are a lot of times, more in like panic situations where I'm like thinking you're gonna freak out, and you're the calm one. Like I don't know what it is. There's something. I think we talked about, you know, way Cody was born and how that all went early on in Cody's life and spending that time in the hospital and whatnot. But it just, there's times where I'm like, oh my God, Meredyth is gonna. Can we swear in here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. It's not ABC.
No, not yet.
You know, Meredyth's gonna shit. She's gonna freak out, and she's, when it really gets like intense, is when you're always like the calm.
There's something about that. I read recently. It's kind of a trauma response where, like, but if I think that I made the credit card payment like 24 hours late, you might as well put me in an insane asylum, because I will go off the deep end. But if you need like a tracheotomy, I'm your big pen girl. Like,
I mean, we get a call about Emerson. Brock was swinging this was when they were smaller. Florida, swinging his iPad around and hit Emerson right here with like big chunky iPad with a case on it. And I was like, it was so bad. Oh my God. And then this one's just like, I'm the one freaking out, and she's the one that's, you know, cruising like a duck across the top of the water. But when it comes to a payment for a credit card being 24 hours late, I'm like, what's wrong with you? She's like, I forgot to pay the credit card. I go, when was it due? She's like, 10 o'clock this morning. It's 11:30.
Yeah, I'm out of my mind.
So it's kind of weird. Like, little things get you, big things don't, which I guess is why, you know, we can stay married.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I think it's always kind of been, I don't know if the word's always, but it's been in the back of my mind forever, is this like, you're my person. Like, I would never want anyone in town or in the world to be mean to you and to hurt your feelings and to make you be sad or like whatever. And so I also like, I mean, I'm going to physically attack you at any moment. And like if I just go like this, he's like a ninja, because there's a very good possibility that I'm going to like do something to him. But I just don't want anyone to hurt you, and I don't want to be a part of that, because I know how it feels to like live inside of like a house that's like sad and painful and like the person doesn't have your back. And the fact of the matter is no one, I mean, other people, but like I benefit from you living a good life. I benefit from you being emotionally well, physically well, financially well, like just you at your best will allow me to be even better in my life. And so if I'm over here making you upset or doing things to harm you, that's going to impact me 100%. And like, I always think like you're my person, and that's important, and I think a lot of people in marriage, they're like reenacting their trauma through childhood. And again, that goes back to, I think you always saying the first 3 years of our marriage was like, I'm not against you, and like really making me feel comfortable being me, which I think is completely backfired.
It might have been the first 5 years. And, but yeah, it was, I don't have a good example. Like, there's times it still happens. It's like, why did you schedule, or what time is the dentist appointment? It's at 11 o'clock, and this is why I did it. I go, whoa. I just
justify myself.
I just wanted to know what time this appointment was. I don't care that you scheduled the time. I don't care it's that day. I just wanted to know. And I had to say those words, like, I'm not against you. I'm not against you. So, yeah. And then allowed you to be free and,
and find who I want to
do a lot of things.
Right. Like I mean, like podcast, I wouldn't do anything. I mean, if I were the same person in the same place, as I was, 20 some years ago, like I think with every move, and I tease him about it all the time. Like every single move that we've ever made for his career, I always say is for me. And when I look at that, even just like in this moment of talking about it, it's like, if every time we would have moved, I'd have been like, well, we're moving for your job, and so you can be better. But like, maybe it's a mental game. Maybe I believed it. I think I feel like I believed it, but I always felt like every time we've moved, which, most of the times, except for this last time in Chicago, you left first.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I moved to Philly, you were already there for like 6 years or something, maybe 3 years.
3.
And so when we moved there, you had already been there. You would already like have a life. And so now I have to move all my stuff, all the things. And then we moved back to Ohio. Like you were already doing the things. And it was my job to sell the house, clean the house, pack the house, watch the kids, move into the new house, unpack the house, decorate the house, get the doctors and dentists and schools set up and all that stuff. And if I had sat there and said, we're doing this for you, I think that the impact of that would have been monumentally negative.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have made it. I mean,
we wouldn't have made it because I would have resented you.
Yeah, for sure. So that I wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't have put up with it. It just would have been like, well, no, we're doing it for us. But it's always been about us, like every single situation that we're in, we've band together and whether it's yours or mine or whatever, it's ours. So it's been good.
Yeah.
We're lucky. I mean, you could have easily said those things to me. I'm sure there's someone. I'm sure there's someone out there right now that's, it's happening right this moment.
Right.
Someone's telling their wife or husband that they have to move because of X, Y, and Z. They're getting transferred, or they got to tell their kids, or whatever it might be. And it's easy to have those conversations. So it's hard to be able to not say that stuff, but you have to work through it and process it and realize everyone's benefiting, not just one person.
And I think that the fact that I like looked at it, framed it in that way that it was for me, it then became for me.
Yeah.
So I found all the things in the move that were a benefit to me. And when I look at each and every move that we've ever made, you've grown as a person and as in your career, but my career has changed. Like when we were in Florida, I was still doing my Meredyth stuff, but at the same time, then I started doing the dress things, and I learned about like building a website, marketing and sales and like all those types of things. And then when I moved here, that all this other stuff grew, wrote a book, started a podcast, like grew my business. And so I think when you frame something as a positive, even though in the moment it might feel heavy, I think that is actually, I mean, because what am I going to do by resenting you because of the situation we're in? You didn't decide, hey, like, let's do this thing that's going to destroy the whole family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I just think also is you having a good heart and me knowing you, like that you always want the best for us. I think that's also, I think choosing to have a perspective of your partner based on who they are and their behavior and really healing your own stuff so that you don't bring a lot of shit to the table and you are healing it. Like, I love that saying, when you don't heal, you bleed on people that didn't cut you. And I think that in the beginning of our marriage, you were definitely getting bled on by by me, and you weren't the one that cut me. But I think that you watched me try to do so much better and heal and not bring all my garbage with me. But it's inevitable. It seeps out when people feel hurt or afraid or whatever else, but I think that when you look at yourself as a team against the world or, with the world or for the world or however you want to say that, I think it shifts everything. But I've always gone into this that no matter what was going on, that you and I were the most important component in all of it.
Right. Yeah, I think that the other piece of it probably happened. I don't know if it's true or not, but as we're talking through this at this very moment,
couples therapy, right here.
Yeah, really. I think after maybe at some point in some move, whether it was to Philly or to Florida, for you too, it was like a little bit of like life, like every one of them turned into a new experience. Because listen, if you've been somewhere a long time and you got to move to, from, Cleveland to California or Cleveland to, I don't know, Kentucky or whatever it might be.
That's not a big move.
Okay, well, Cleveland to Texas.
I guess that's a big move.
Yeah,
Cincinnati to Kentucky is not a big move.
Cleveland to Houston, I think you have to, after you've done it a couple times, then it becomes, normal. That, and you're looking at, there's other life experiences you're about to have, and for you and your family, and there's just so many different experiences to have in every different city. I think that once people do it, they're like, oh, this, we can handle this.
Yeah.
It can happen. It does get a little stickier with kids and things of that nature, but, it happens.
No, it's good. I mean, we made it this far.
We have.
And we just had like a crazy experience this past month, and I haven't been on the podcast, so I haven't talked about.
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
no, I haven't talked about the lightning strike. And I didn't get a lot of like backlash. So about a month ago, I was struck by lightning. I like to say hit by lightning because I feel like it was a portion of the lightning. I don't feel like I was like crushed by like an 8 billion watt lightning bolt, but it definitely was some,
so what is this,
some sort of it.
Hit?
I say hit.
Struck is like a direct hit.
Struck, I feel, is a direct hit. Hit is more like some shit came over and attacked me.
Okay.
And so we were on the beach. It was pouring down rain. I was standing underneath a beach umbrella and watching him. I said we should probably go in. He was trying to put together this tent, which was going to do nothing, but whatever. And I just kept thinking, like, he's definitely going to get hit by lightning.
So it was
And
your fault.
yeah, it was my fault, definitely. And within, like, it felt like I said on my video on social, I felt like a 300-pound man landed on my head, and I knew it wasn't you, not just because you don't weigh 300 pounds. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's just no way you would be jumping on my head. But looking back, someone could have tried to tackle me. But that said, within like a second, I was like, oh my God, I was just hit by lightning and I fell on the ground and you weren't sure what the hell was going on.
Mhm.
And so anyways, I'm laying on the ground being rained on, just got hit by lightning, like in and out of like basically consciousness. And you were asking me questions. And I obviously didn't want to answer them because I was chilling on the beach, like it's like out of it. But I knew that if I didn't answer you, that you would be sad, like you would freak out, and
Yeah.
I didn't want you to freak out.
I was close. I was close to freaking out.
Yeah, and a lot of people on social media were commenting like, oh my gosh, how toxic that you feel like you have to make him feel better, even though you're the one that's having this crisis, like this physical medical crisis. And all you can think about is your husband not feeling bad.
No, it wasn't like that. It's because you wanted me to not be upset, right?
But they're saying that's toxic.
So you have to prop me up all the time? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, they're like,
well, they don't know us. No offense to them.
No, I mean, but I think that when people don't recognize, and I think we're in a really weird time right now of this like 4B movement. If you don't know what that is, it's where basically women aren't getting into relationships, so they don't need a man. And I think that we've gone, not me, but like in life, I think that we have gotten away from knowing that there can be positive relationships out there, which is another reason I wanted to do this series, is that we've lost sight of the fact that you can be generous. You can have compassion and love for somebody in your relationship, where even though you might be going through something, that you hold that person as the the half to your whole, so to speak. Not that you complete me, because you don't. I complete myself, you complete yourself. But at the same time, just as I wouldn't want my kids to be sad if they watched me having a seizure on the ground, I'd be like, mom's okay, mom's okay. Like, I love you in that same way that I would in that moment was like, I'm okay. Like, call an ambulance, call 911. But, I don't think that it's toxic to want your child to be scared or your spouse to be scared, or...
Well, they also weren't, in fairness to them, those people that were saying that, they weren't there. Like,
Right.
like when you're in that moment and that crack of a lightning bolt hits somewhat close to you or next to you, and you feel...
And you felt it.
I felt the concussion in my chest.
I don't know if that's the word.
It's not?
You keep saying it
What is it?
over the past month. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's...
I felt the explosion.
Maybe like the pressure. I don't know. I don't know if the word's concussion.
Explosion.
But isn't a concussion like what you get on your head? We should Google it so that you stop saying the wrong thing.
I'm sure it's the right thing.
I'm not sure it's the right thing.
All right. So when I feel the concussion in my head,
I'm gonna go with this guy.
When I felt whatever it was hit me, I was like, wow. And then immediately look over and Meredyth collapses. I thought for like a nanosecond you were messing around, like not messing around, but like, well, I mean, and then I realized the way you went down, and like I said, these people weren't there. So if you're there, I immediately was like, Meredyth, like, and getting zero response. It could have been zero response for 5 seconds. It could have been 35 seconds. I'm not really sure, but it felt like a long time. And then after the first Meredyth and no response, I knew we were really in not a good situation. And, I think that, you were hearing me, thankfully, and kind of coming back, for whatever you want to call it. And I remember saying, are you okay? Are you okay? I mean, again, I don't know how many times. And then I finally got a head shake. No. And, she's pretty tough. So I was like, oh boy, like this is really not good. Like she's not one to be like, oh no, I'm hurt, but I'm okay. You know, like when she shakes her head, no, she's not okay. She's not okay. And then at that point, I was like, do we need to call 911? And again, very slow head nod. And then I was like, wow, we're really in a really bad situation. Um, she wants me to call 911 because it's not her style. So I was really then I started to panic, and then is it Carol?
Carol.
Some gal named Carol walked up on us, and was telling me to ask her questions. I don't know if she started to pray first or
no, she was asking questions. I think
yeah,
I don't remember.
Keep asking her questions. Keep asking her questions.
And he couldn't come up with questions.
Couldn't come up with the questions to save my life.
His mind was just like blank.
And then Carol was like, fire questions. She's like, what kind of dog do you have? What's the name of the dog?
So annoying.
And I was like, and she's.
But it was good. I'm saying you should definitely ask people questions because I kept telling her.
The weird part was it was like I was a UN translator. It was like Carol standing behind you going, what kind of dog do you have? And I go, what kind of dog do you have? What's the name of the dog? What's the name of the dogs? But it was working. And then I was doing okay because I was starting to get more responses from you. But then when Carol started to pray over you, that got a little intense because it was like, wow, this is really real. But thank God for Carol and her husband who helped out and get everybody there. And by the way, when I called 911, some of you may already know this information, but I called 911. I'm on a beach. I don't know where I'm on Amelia Island beach. That's all I had. And 911 was like, you need to give me more than that. Thankfully, Carol was like the entrance of between 8 and 9, which that's their language in that area, and they knew where to go. But if they wouldn't have been standing there, I wouldn't have known how to tell them to get there. I didn't even know the address of the place we were staying because it was just we've been there a few days.
I did. I was laying on the beach with like 300 pounds of water in my right ear, giving the address. Because I did know that for some unknown, probably because I kept mapping us back and forth from everywhere we were going when we were, because I was the driver in the rental.
But anyway, I could see where people are like, oh, you got to make him feel better. But they also weren't there and didn't understand the full gravity of the whole situation.
But don't you think
but maybe there's, no, the other side of the coin is that's not our relationship. And it's kind of a bummer that they feel that maybe they were in one or they're currently in one where they got to constantly make that other person feel better, which sucks. I mean, that's, and that's, it all depends on everyone's different situation. So we're lucky to not have that.
Yeah. I don't ever feel like I'm carrying you. Like, I feel like we carry each other
totally
in certain like moments of like maybe a day or situations or even like during certain whatever, like it could be a long period of time where I'm like, all right, but it doesn't feel like I'm up. It's just like, it feels like just the ebb and flow of a healthy relationship of like, it just kind of works itself out. Now, if you were super needy all the time where I was exhausted, but I think we do a great job. Like you take the kids to school every single morning. You love it. You connect with them. You talk to them on the way to school. I'm over there going, they can take the bus. They're fine taking the bus, but you enjoy it. So like, if you enjoy it, I'm like, have at it. But I think that that's what we do in so many parts of our relationship. Like if I make dinner, you do the dishes. If I do the laundry, you bring the baskets up or bring the dirty clothes down. If I buy the English bulldog pain in the ass, you take it out and for walks at 9 o'clock at night because she won't stop barking in her kennel.
Anyone want to buy an English bulldog? She's really cute.
She's so cute.
A giant pain in the ass.
And she's the worst. She
currently is all the way in the basement right now. Probably barking, but you can't hear her.
Right. We're like, how are we gonna do this?
She's fun. She's okay. She's just a puppy, but it's been a lot of work.
But if you were a turd, you would be killing me every single day anytime you had to do anything for that dog. But that's like, that would have been the same thing with like, anytime you had to pay for Cody and Skylar, anytime you had to parent, anytime you had to like do anything, you could have been like, it's not my kids. I didn't buy the dog. This is not my house. I didn't want this. Like, I could have been like, well, I didn't want to move and I didn't sign up to move 100 times, even though you were very clear in our dating what my life could look like. You were, yes, you set the stage like,
I wonder.
There's a good chance we're going to have to move a lot because when you move up in the sports industry, a lot of times to move up, you have to move
Not
physically.
always, but
I think that it's just as you just never were like, well, you bought the dog, you go let it out. You bought the dog, you feed it. You had those kids.
Is that how I sound?
Well, I mean, you could sound like that. You could sound like that. If
Well, the
you were
dog was a little bit of a
nice.
trade-off because
Oh, that's right.
I got like what
It was supposed to be like a
no,
million different gifts, wasn't it?
Not a million. I think I got off on 2 of them: Christmas and Valentine's. That's what it was because it was bought in like September, October, November. So it was Christmas. That was the tipping point for me. I said no to the dog multiple times, but Skylar and Meredith were in Florida with the dog that fit in the palm of her hand like this at the time. Now it's like this.
37 pounds of beef.
And I said, no, which I don't normally do. I'm pretty good about,
Yeah, but
and
anything that's alive.
And then either Meredith or Skylar said, you don't have to buy a Christmas gift or Valentine's Day gift. And that's a ton of pressure for me to buy those.
With the last couple of gifts, if anyone's been following the island, the last couple gifts have been like, I bought you an island.
I bought you a chainsaw.
I bought you a chainsaw. I bought you gravel. I bought you toilets and beds and all the other stuff.
Taking out tree stumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was the give and take was I got pass on Christmas and Valentine's gifts. So,
but I have to tell you this, and I don't tell him this, so don't tell him this. But like last night, she was barking and barking and barking, and he went downstairs to let her out, and
for the 17th
time as I laid in bed, and then she kept barking again, and then you took her for a walk around the block, and those are the times that I like am so in love with you because I'm like, oh my God, he's such an awesome person because there's no way in hell that I would be doing that.
Well, that's the give and take because I wanted to kill you when I was walking around the entire town of Hinsdale with our dog at 9:45. So I called and yelled at Brock, actually.
You yelled at Brock? For what?
No, Brock called me and was like, Dad, this kid wants to buy my Ken Griffey Jr. car for X amount of money or whatever.
Sell it.
Last night. And yeah, for what he paid for it. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. And I was like, dude, you were home all afternoon with the dog and you didn't let her out enough. Now she's crazy. And I'm out walking around Hinsdale. Of course, Brock was like, sorry, Dad. But I didn't yell at him. I just said, you got to help out with the dog a little bit. So I'm glad you were loving me because
I was loving you.
She was on fire last night.
Yeah. I was
she doesn't go for long walks, but last night she was
on fuego.
Yeah. Which I'm always worried because of the coyote. We can talk about the coyote.
The coyote. If I hear about this coyote one more time.
There's a coyote in our neighborhood, and Hazel's little. I'm afraid the coyote's going to come out of nowhere and just take her head off. But
yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah,
we're not allowed to talk about the
those the freaking. I've been listening to Coyote for 12 hours or 24 hours. But yeah, I like those are the moments I'm just like, thank God he's him. But I do think like it's funny when I talked about you on a video recently on TikTok. Everyone's like, does he have a brother? And I'm always like, I don't know, but if he did, I'd be selling him out on eBay. One of Jim's brothers from Iowa.
My brothers from college. My 9 brothers from college.
True.
I'm trying to think which ones are single right now. I don't know. Any of them are.
I don't think any of them are single.
Furking, maybe.
Oh yeah, Furking.
Yeah.
If you like to look for car keys in a wallet at all times.
We won't talk about Andy.
Yeah, we won't talk about Andy. So.
Yeah. Oh, I just came full name.
Yeah, maybe not put that out there.
Sorry.
So, like, what did you think about our first podcast together?
It was fun. I liked it.
You like it?
Can I talk about stuff or not? Like, I'm watching how many people are watching.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Oh, it's interesting.
Oh, that's just on Facebook that you can see
that. Oh, where else are we?
On YouTube and LinkedIn. And
live?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and it'll stay there. So, so are you willing to do another episode with me? Because I was thinking like 8.
Let's see what the fans say.
All right. If you guys have any topics you want us to talk about, not that we in any way, shape, or form have answers or questions, feel free to email me at meredythwillits@gmail.com or put them in the chat wherever you're at.
Wait, what do you think?
I think it's good. Like, I think it's cool to think about how far we've come and why we've come so far. And I think it's mostly about just wanting to be in a safe home with a person and feel good. And you have to build that foundation with kindness and love and support and, understanding and grace. And I think that that's what our home is built on and laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God that you allow me to physically abuse you a little bit because
Mentally.
because like this is basically our norm. Like our norm is like laughing, you know what I mean, for the most part. And like when it's difficult and like we go for walks, we like to go for a walk together. And
there were
you watched Housewives with me.
Oh, dude.
I will tell you that the saving grace to any marriage is allowing each other to like have the remote, and by each other that means me, because he watches all the Housewives with me, all of Bravo. He is a Bravo. We could do an entire podcast just on Bravo.
Yeah, I don't like some of them though, but I just watch them because they usually,
you get sucked in though.
Yeah, there's not really I don't like, but like Dubai is not really working for me right now.
Yeah, I usually watch them without you so that you don't get you don't get
watch periodically without me.
I do watch them without you, but
I gotta catch up.
Yeah, but he watches the Bravo with me. He goes for walks with me.
I can't believe I'm putting this out.
He lets me. He lets me color my hair and cut my hair. Well, you know what I mean.
I make her make me feel. I make her make me feel good about my life or whatever.
I will say that probably one of the scariest things that I ever did was I went to the salon. My hair was like shoulder length, and I sent him a text that was like, "You love me, right?" Now he doesn't know where I'm at. And he's like, "Of course, I love you. I love you all the time." Now, mind you, I'm getting my hair cut into a mohawk and dyeing it platinum white at the time from normal hair. And I walk in the house with the mohawk, and you like, stop tapping on that. Jesus. And you were like so understanding. Now, Brock, not so much. Brock cried hysterically, "Why can't you be a normal mom?" But you just kind of went with it. Like,
well, I think we talked about this too, and we're extending this, but I also had a girlfriend at the time.
Excuse me?
Not at the time. At the time when I was younger. No, and there was my sister's wedding in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And the girl I was dating at the time that was coming to the wedding showed up with a complete, like, she had normal hair and like buzz cut. So I kind of been through that trauma.
Yeah, you've done that.
So not comparing you to her, I'm just saying, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
The mohawk was a lot?
Yeah, like
Irene calls it the haircut heard around the world.
Yeah, it was something, but I don't know. I just roll with it.
You roll with it.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
I mean, let's think about the fact that when you met me, I was like working at a law firm, and now I talk to dead people and have a podcast.
Yeah, it's life. I think that if we keep doing this, it's also we just have a lot of.
We keep doing our marriage.
No. Well, we could talk about that after, but like keep doing these, whatever these are. I don't know what we're on podcast. I think it's just we have a lot of funny things, and I think laughter, like the lightning strike. Like I may,
funny.
I may have made some jokes too early. The whole but there's just we got to keep it light.
Yeah, you do have to keep it light
for sure.
The world's heavy enough to have it be heavy in the house. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on my podcast and talking about my life and how important you are to like.
It says my name on it too.
Oh, it does. I did put it's your name on there. Wasn't I so generous to put your name on there?
I was actually going to ask. I think it should have been Jim and Meredyth.
1990 called and they went to Meredyth first. So, anyways, let's do this again next week.
All right.
But you're not going to be allowed to sit by the bed where you can keep tapping metal noises.
They can't hear that.
No, they probably can.
No, they can't.
Jesus God. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Message me or email me with anything you want to talk about or any questions that you have. So see you next time. Thanks for listening. If you would like to connect on a more personal level, head over to meredythwillits.com or on Instagram at Meredyth with a Y for behind-the-scene footage and outtakes. Please subscribe and come back each week for more Meredyth with a Y.